Okay, and we are back to higher density living. For all of our viewers of the video podcast, we are in a new studio. It's got a great vibe in here.
Oh, great vibe.
We've transitioned to an Adobe,
Yes.
a local Adobe here in New Mexico. And the walls are super thick. It's comfortable, good energy.
Lower ceilings, more cozy.
Ceilings. It's definitely cozy.
We did some different lighting, did some cool new upgrades.
Yeah, good for us.
Yeah. But when we get into the 7 principles for the aspiring one,
principles, yes.
Can you first? If they haven't listened to the other 3, these kind of work among themselves. So I encourage you to do that. There's 7 total. But can you give? Where did Billy Meier come up with these, and how did he come up with them?
So Billy Meier was, and still is, in direct contact with a Playaran, extraterrestrial Isfitch. People are like, what the hell is coming out of my mouth? And Isfitch is the original Proto-Germanic word for Yahweh, also known as a king of wisdom. So from what we understand here, what we're told, I've never met the guy myself, so all I know is that this is logical and reasonable. That's the reason I talk about it.
So I want people to understand this. So whatever, because I would consider this a religious text.
Yeah.
You know, the books, Law of One, religious text, Bible, religious text, Bhagavad Gita, religious text. There's so much wisdom and logic in them.
Yes.
That you have to say, this is like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
Like I've been reading a lot of Alcohol Anonymous material.
Yep.
And that was in the 1920s, 1930s. The guy was 3 years sober. And he come up with take self-responsibility. Don't let anybody impose on your free will. Where did that come from? 3 years sober and you made this material and it's changed millions and millions of lives and caused people to take back their free will off of some liquid in a bottle.
Right.
Like
they don't attach to it.
That's religious text to me. You know what I mean? So whether it's the source, to me, doesn't matter as much as the words and how they resonate with you.
Correct.
In your evolution.
And what we found is that these words, this thinking, these teachings are very respectful of free will.
Yes.
They're very self-empowering. They're very logical and rational, and they're things that you can take and understand and see right here in front of you. It's not, the classic spiritual stuff where, like, oh, the crystalline energy and, the horoscopes and all that. No, it's not that. This is very, very reasonable. And it's all about you and the power within yourself to do these things for your own evolution. So Billy Meier, in working with this Isfitch, or this king of wisdom, who is a more evolved human being, that's all he is saying these are 7 principles that, if applied in stacked order, can help you evolve or aspire to be a much greater human being, to step into your real purpose as a human being, your real purpose to evolve as being one with creation. So that's the whole point of these 7 principles of the aspiring one. They're not to tell you what to do. They're essentially suggestions about the most straightforward and effective, rational, logical way to align with creational laws and evolve. That's it. Nothing else. And you can use them for your own testing to say that, oh, this actually does work. Fantastic. Don't take everything just like as gospel right out of the gate. You should test it. Oh, really interesting. You should ruminate it. Think about it. Does that actually align? It takes time to work through these things.
Yes.
And if you find that the applications work, well, then stick with it.
Yes.
And if it doesn't, move away from it. But we are only just breaking down things that, frankly, make a hell of a lot of sense and do work well.
Well, are we dancer or are we human? It's a killer song.
Or are we human?
Dancer.
It's a great song.
So let's get into number 4.
Yeah.
And this episode will be on number 4. You must lay decisive strength, self-confidence, assertiveness, in parentheses, self-assurance, and triumphalism in the construction and in the realization of your ideas.
Okay.
Let's pause there. Yeah.
If I have an idea, if I'm like, I'm going to do something, don't do it half-cocked.
Yes.
Okay? Go all in. Commit. Invest. Trust in yourself that what you're doing, what you have thought about, with the 3 other principles before this one, that you are going to do this full force, and you're going to do it because you know what the benefit and outcome is going to be. You thought about it.
Yes.
Through and through. And I'm going to be so self-assured, so confident about my choice. Even if it blows up in my face, I was willing to test it, learn from my mistake, and evolve.
Yeah, and I want to hit each of these real quick. Decisive strength.
Yeah.
So whenever we have a wrong view of strength. Whenever we think of strength, it's like Game of Thrones type. You know, that army's stronger, this person's stronger than I am, and so they win, I lose.
Every person has. Think of yourself as like an energy, a battery, a capacitor. You have so much energy you can choose to put towards many things that are in your current frame of reference or perspective that are holding your attention. Having decisive strength says that I'm going to take my energy, which is capped, my physical body's energy, and I am going to put it towards this one thing. I'm going to go all in to try and make this one thing happen. I'm going to give my energy to catalyze this thought I have. Okay? That's where this decisive strength is. I've decided where that energy is going to go.
So it's taking that energy that's inside of you.
Correct.
And then externally putting that into a thought, an idea, work, whatever it may be. That's where the strength comes from.
Correct.
Okay, so decisive, self-confidence.
Oh, yeah, self-confidence. If you say, all right, I'm going to put all my energy into something, but I'm not confident it's going to work, you're already putting an upper limit on the possibility of this thing really occurring because you have self-doubt. I could be strong as an ox, right?
Yes.
But if I have self-doubt that I can't lift something, but my body physiologically can do it,
yes,
it's already a non-starter. So de facto, if you have to have decisive strength, you have to have the confidence that you can use that strength properly.
Yeah, and what I like about self-confidence when people think of that, it's not this egoistic asshole.
No.
Like we think of that like this super strong salesperson that forces me to do something.
Right.
Self-confidence is having the ability logically to look at the risk. So hopefully you've sat down, whether it's with a piece of paper, your laptop or desktop or your phone, whatever it may be, and go through the process logically on a piece of paper and outweigh the risk and the benefits in this. Say, am I imposing on anybody's free will? Am I imposing on my free will? You know, you can spiritually go through this whole process and look at it and say, oh, okay, I now logically and with my mind have the ability to say that I am confident in this problem, this situation, because I've looked at it in all aspects from a creative approach.
Yes.
We were talking about that earlier. Like we were talking about somebody with a problem, you know, and I was talking to them and it was like, how do you come up with a creative solution?
Right.
Because a lot of times, and sometimes you need to ruminate on stuff or meditate on it.
You need to.
Sometimes making a decision doesn't have to be emotionally based. That's not self-confidence.
No.
I know, and I'm positive this is where you know what I mean?
Have you actually thought about it? You know.
Yeah, I mean, when we and you know, I'm a fan of this, but World War II, when you look at it, it's like, how silly was it of him to go to Russia, Hitler to go to Russia?
Super silly.
If he would have stuck with Europe, he could have had all of Europe been done with it.
He had decisive strength.
Yeah, and
but
don't bomb England.
He stepped beyond his bounds.
Yes, there we go.
And in doing so, what you thought you had with confidence was being told by other people. Other people telling you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. There's no self-confidence.
Jacked up on drugs.
Those are other people telling you, other people telling you that you can do it when you didn't realize for yourself.
Yeah, and then and so that's that. So when we look at like a polarizing figure like Hitler, and we see decisive strength, self-confidence, and then the next one is assertiveness, self-insurance.
No one could tell him otherwise.
Yes.
Regardless of
that's a problem right there. You know you're in your ego then.
You know you're in your ego. And self-assurance, this is interesting. You are assured. You before have been through difficult processes and you know that you can get through them. That's self-assurance. You don't want to reassure your ego. You want to reassure the strength you have.
Yes.
You want to reassure your confidence. You don't want to reassure something that was either lucky or reassure what other people were telling you was a victory for yourself. If you don't know it internally, then it's not going to be successful.
Well, I think of the movie The Big Short.
Oh,
this is a great film, and Brad Pitt's an amazing actor. Whenever you look at their assertiveness or self-assurance.
Yes.
But they had logically ran these tests over and over and over and over. And you saw the process work out in the whole movie.
Correct.
They questioned things. And then at the end, they're like, I'm going all in. All my chips are on this.
Yep.
This is like, we're failing big, or we're not doing this at all. They worked the process over time to come up with a self-assurance.
Right.
This isn't like I hold a crystal in my hand or I touch this pyramid and then I get zapped and all of a sudden that special energy that I'm feeling brings me this, woo-woo self-assurance, or I threw some dice and it landed on all sixes.
Or the horoscope told me I'm going to have a good day.
Yeah. Those are external.
You're looking at the outside. If you are trying to aspire to something, you have to be rock solid in yourself.
Yes.
So rock solid. And then any challenge that comes to you, you can be triumphant over it. That's the triumphantalism, where you go forward, you're pushing, you've made the decision, decisive strength, you've assured yourself, you have the confidence to get it done, you're doing it. And every single negative thing that comes to you to try and, catalyze you to stop doing it.
Yeah, your ego. Yeah.
You triumph over it.
But I mean, whenever you look at, and he says triumphalism in the construction and the realization of your ideas. So I want to stop right there because these words are very important: construction and in the realization. Realization comes from you understanding who you are inside of yourself. Yeah. When you're ego based, I'm 48 years old.
Yep.
I have 48 years to draw a realization from.
Correct.
When I go inside of myself, I have eternity. I have the universe backing me up. I have creation backing me up. And I have millions and millions and millions of years to draw upon that wisdom.
That's precisely correct.
It's a huge difference.
Yeah.
So that's what he's saying. He's saying in the construction and in the realization, that's a process.
Yeah. The construction realization, your mind has to build out the idea first. You have to think about it. Mm-hmm. You can't just willy-nilly be throwing things together without any sort of thought process, because then your energy's all over the place. The assurance isn't going to work. You can't be decisive of what you're doing because you haven't thought it through. So like a good architect, they have to plan first before they start building. What do I want that outcome to look like? And then you realize that idea when you start to act upon it.
So how many people are based off of a hunch?
Oh my God, everybody. All business today is based off of a hunch. All of it.
What if you as a business leader decided to say, okay, I'm going to make sure I must lay decisive strength, self-confidence, certainty, self-assurance, and triumphalism. And I'm going to have this idea that I have. I'm going to construct and realize it and make sure I have this in place before I act.
You'd be the most robust decision maker in the history of business of all time.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is very, very logical. And like, this is what you said earlier.
Yeah.
These teachings are very, very logical. And he says, and through that, construct everything in a concentrative, clear, and powerful manner. And through that, that's very important. Prepositional phrase. And through that.
Not with it, through it. Mm-hmm. So that means this has to happen first. You only see clarity, the logic, the light of this thinking and this action, the decisiveness, the assurance, the strength, when you move through the construction and realization of the ideas, of those thoughts.
Unless you've experienced it, you have no idea. And I keep using this as an example, but Hitler didn't use mustard gas and all those gases, which he could have, probably would have done the war. But he had experienced he went through that in trench warfare.
Yes.
He saw why he was so gung-ho about technology is he saw what happened in World War I. He did not want just troops running through. Russia did that. Just, okay, we can just throw 1 million people at you. We'll kill as many as we can.
Yeah.
He's like, no, technology is the answer.
Right.
And sometimes you need to use technology in order to understand this idea that you're bringing forth, that you're creating, because that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
Every thought is a creational moment.
That's correct. And if you can have something that can help you leverage that in the material world, then do it. Help you accelerate those thoughts or ideas. Use these tools to help test against it. Even what your own thought was saying, well, let's test against it also. And it's a very powerful process, and you build such a strong structure of whatever it is you're trying to achieve. It's like, I'm using the heaviest iron beams to put this thing together. Even titanium. It's so robust for your future. and no one will be able to knock that structure down.
And that's what he's saying. And he says, and through that, construct.
Yeah, you construct, you have to build. That's what happens. You've taken all your pieces, you've amassed them, your energy,
Yes.
everything, and now you put it together.
And he says, a clear and powerful manner.
If it's...
Let's stay with the word clear. I want to.
If what you are building does not have in your mind a definitive vision or outcome for what it should become, you're not really know what you're building.
No.
So how could you know if your foundation is going to lead to that thing properly?
Yeah, and you used architect earlier.
Yeah.
Why do we have plans when we build something?
Otherwise,
buildings.
a construction crew go out there and things would be just absolutely wonky and out of control.
Well, you have
Need guidance.
You have masons.
Yeah.
You have electricians.
Yeah.
You have concrete worker. I mean, the
Glazers,
list goes
everything.
on.
Yeah.
I mean, there's hundreds of people that assemble this. So when you have all of these outcomes and all of these different expertise,
Yep.
I think this helps in leadership and business big time. You have all of this. You have to architect that together to create the outcome. So if you're not figuring out what the outcome is,
Right.
if you're not seeing in a vision what that future is going to hold, what that building's going to look like, you're failing.
Yeah, and if
It's not clear.
if you don't see it clearly, neither will any person that interacts with you and what you're doing be able to see it clearly.
But I love this because he says, no, don't make it clear, make it powerful too.
Oh, yeah, it has to be powerful. Because if it's clear but weak, people are like, I'm not going to be a part of it.
There's no vision. There's no way to aspire.
No.
And Proverbs is an old Proverbs in the Bible. It says, without a vision, the people will perish.
Yeah, I know. They need a vision.
Yes.
And if you have a powerful vision,
Yes.
one that literally is like transcendental for people, or like when you see a structure where you're like, oh my goodness,
Right.
that's amazing. And then that allows you to blossom in your own ideas because you've interacted with somebody else's vision that has materialized. That's incredible.
Yeah. And we're going to do our next episode is going to do on the origins of QAnon.
Yes.
And so that'll be fun for people. Not that we're not Q people by any means.
No.
But we're just going to talk about the fallacy of it. But whenever you look at QAnon, it became this movement, this catalyzing movement, helped the president get elected, helped him stay in power, almost got him elected again.
Yeah.
If COVID wouldn't have hit, he would still be the president. All of that was based off of this vision
Of what the new America would look like.
Yes.
The
yes.
new world.
That was powerful.
Of course, it
was
works.
it was negative oriented.
Yeah, but it
It
works.
was powerful.
And that's the whole thing. But if you let it prevail, it says it'll bring it all to blossom. So I'll give a metaphor. A plant goes to take root, but half of the area, the surface area with a root, is concrete. It can't draw nutrients. It knows the foundation isn't sturdy. So the fruit, the way it blooms won't happen. It won't have the beauty. It won't be able to pull all these great, sufficient foundational things together to give it what it needs to become what it wants. Okay? So if you're going to plant your seeds, put them in the right place. Give it the right foundation. Give it the right time and energy to tend to that garden, to tend to that crop. So when it blossoms, you can reap the benefits of all of that work. And that's just going to reinforce your strength, your assurance, your confidence, and how triumphant you are in your own evolution.